But you know who I'm talking about, don't you? A-Team. There were riot screws in this prison who practiced the riot tactics on prisoners. YPs, young offenders. Right? They actually took one, spread eagle, dragged him all the way through prison, down into the block and threw him down the steps. The block officer of that day was a Mr. Matthews, a Scotch Packie, who still serves at this prison. He gave evidence against the A-Team. He told the lad that they'd just thrown down the steps, that if he repeated what had just happened to him to the governor the next morning, i.e. I was his witness as well, because I was the #1 roll board and saw him do it. So we gave evidence against the A-Team, Mr. Matthews included. From that day, he was ostracised by all his fellow screws. I believe he's still here working on reception. Working on reception. You'll know all about that. This is the prison's centre where visitors come. They come in, book in here, get rid of all the money, apart from a tenner that they can spend inside. That's what usual crack. They stay there till screws come over from prison, and then they take them over now and take them through new gates. I'm going up old gates as well. I were here before all these extensions. Yeah, it might be a laugh, mate, but we worked with people like you in there.
Can you turn your camera off a minute?
No. No. This is for my protection, mate, and yours. But listen, if you want to say something, and it's worthwhile, I will blur it out.
Why don't you listen to me, mate, for a minute?
Go on then, I will.
Right, we won't even hear them, we're not kicked off.
No, I know you don't, but you know about it. You know about it. You're a work screw. You're a work screw, right? And you work with convicts in there. Yeah? I've done your fucking job, mate. I were Works Green Band. I were Works Green Band here. Yeah, go on, laugh. Have you got out to say, mate?
What about, pal?
About corruption here in this prison.
What can one say?
Smuggling drugs.
What can one say, mate?
Having sex with inmates. Female officers.
When did you last have sex with him?
I didn't, but I know loads that did. And I know serving officers here, still at this prison, that did as well, mate. I've had to start naming them, get them sack as well. Is that what you want me to do?
I'm not bothered what you do, mate.
If I name names, they get sacked, mate.
You still filming, mate, yeah?
No, mate.
Okay.
I won't stop. As you know, it's legal for me to film. I'm in a public space. Yeah, public access. Public access. Here, this is new extension to prison. When they built E-Wing. This is the new gates, where a colleague of mine did an audit as well. This is where staff go in, hand the keys in, and pick them back up when they're going back in. Just over the wall here was hospital wing on end of D-Wing, where Yorkshire Ripper was remanded January 1981 for psychiatric reports. I want to talk about that because I was orderly at the time. Have you got out to say, officer, about officers having sex with prisoners? No, I didn't think you would. Have you, love, any out to say? No, I'm not putting my camera away, sorry. January 1981, whilst Yorkshire Ripper were remanded for psychological reports to prove whether he was or wasn't a schizophrenic, I was the hospital orderly. Now, what the screws were supposed to do that worked on the wing, who was supposed to be the nurse acting for the psychiatrist that came in at end of week And what that officer had to do was write down in a book what he was doing, particular times of day. And then the psychologist came in at end of week, said, yeah, put him on this drug, put him on that. And the idea was, if he was schizophrenic, he couldn't suppress this behaviour. Have you got out to say on corruption inside prison, love? Officers having sex with inmates. Yeah, and smuggling drugs in. I know, because I used to get them off them. I used to smoke them in here with this big wall to protect, to keep police away. Now, when the screw was supposed to write down in this book what he was doing, Screw were always in office supping tea. So it was orderlies that wrote down in book, which puts the Yorkshire Ripper and all the other cases in jeopardy. Because that psychologist made his reports and made his decision to nut him off and send him to Rampton on what he thought were the Screws reports. But it wasn't, was it? Because it were mine. How can I prove it? Because my handwriting will be in that fucking book, not the Screws. That's enough about Yorkshire Ripper for now. We're going back up this end to Old Gatehouse. This is New Gatehouse. This building here, downstairs, was prisoners' visiting room. They used to go in old gates up here, your visitors. They took them into this end of the building, went and got you off wings, and that's where you had your visits. This here, this is all part of the old prison. We're just coming up now, and from here we can see what is D-Wing. This end of the prison is D-Wing, and on end of that wing is where the hospital wing was. Excuse me, have you got aught to say about corruption inside prison? Officers having sex with inmates? Oh, they are. I think you know as well, mate. And drugs that get smuggled in. I know, because I've been in here. Yeah, I've 17 years banged up behind door, me, mate. I'm not ashamed of it. I did what I had to do to live at the time. This year we're coming up to Lift Free. Didn't know what this gate was, but I do. This is the original gatehouse. You go through these gates here, straight forward. I'm a line officer. Straight forward, you're in line with the centre. You go up the steps, through the doors, you're in a corridor. In that corridor, on either side, there's rooms that used to be used for prison visits. Through the door at the top, we're straight up onto the prison centre.
Can you not film it, please?
No, mate, this is a public space and I'm allowed to do it. Can you keep 2 metres away from me, mate? And where's your mask? I bet you don't wear them in here either. Yeah, where's yours, mate, as well? Have you got aught to say on corruption in prison? When you get through here, straightforward, as I've said, as old entrance to get up to centre. To your left from here was the old reception. You went in gate, they threw you off coach just inside gates. You went in reception just about level with here, I'd say. Excuse me, officers.
Don't video me, I don't want you videoing me.
I'm in a public place,
Don't
mate.
care, I don't want you videoing me.
I don't
Video
care,
me.
mate. I don't care.
Good, don't video me then.
I don't care.
See you later, mate.
See ya. Right. Coming up this end. Have you got out to say on police, on corruption in here? Officers having sex with inmates and smuggling them drugs in? No, I didn't think you would. Over this side here, as you can see, this is A-wing. This is A-wing. On end of it, there's what looks like an extension, and that's known as the well. A1, A2, A3, in that well, there's nonces. All nonces are housed in there. Have you got all to say about, have you got any drugs to take in, officer? Because they're doing here. They're doing here. I know women prison officers that take it in here, as well as male. You know about A-team as well, don't you, mate? I'll ask you another question. Where was the old bathhouse? I'll ask them officers over there. Anybody know? Where was old bathhouse? Officers, do you know where the old bathhouse was? Before they put toilets and everything in cells? I do. I'll say at the end of this vlog. You can watch it on YouTube later. I actually spoke to a prison officer's mother yesterday that works in here. She said he smuggles drugs in as well. But I took her off because she was just an old lady. She shouldn't get involved in this. Now back up this end, like I say, there's A-wing. A-wing. Across from it is B-wing, where an inmate called Sean Straw hung himself in 80s. He actually went reported sick. They sent him back up out wing. He told them he was suicidal. They still sent him back up out wing. Same day I refused a direct order because I didn't want to go out because I was sick of Sean Straw in my ear hole, moaning about his missus that were giving evidence about being kidnapped. I told him that she wouldn't go to court, but he wasn't happy. So he topped his sin. I got nicked for disobeying a direct order to report for exercise. Next morning, I told the governor why I refused, i.e. Sean Straw were doing me head in. He didn't take nothing off me. Do you know why? Because he knew they sent him back up wing. Have you got out officers to say about it? Do you know about Sean Straw topping his sin in here? Yeah? No? Do you know Frankie Fraser, who was hitman for Richardson's, was discharged from B1 here, which is block, as you know. You didn't know that, did you? So here we go, back down this way. I'm going to get same thing. Are you going to turn that off? And I'll tell them all same. No. I'm in a public place and I'm entitled to do this. I don't get paid for doing it. I do it to expose corruption in prisons. Not just this one. This is just one I've started with. I've been in here dozens of times. I can name screws by name. Do you want me to? I bet there's not one of you, if I said to you, there's a female officer in this prison, or I think she's recently moved. If I named her, are you going to say yes or no? But then you've got to ask, how would I know her name? Yeah? Any comments? She's been moved to Everthorpe. I'm not going to tell you her name. You'll look it up. She's been moved to Everthorpe. I'm going up there to do an audit as well, because that used to be a borstal. Gonks just sat there. Don't say nothing. There's even an officer up there with pips on her shoulders. Still not saying no. These are not saying no. She don't want to say no. She's turned her back to me. Have you got out to say, love? No. Right, here we go. Back down here. Do any of you officers know where the old bathhouse was? Come on, one of you must know. I know. If it were bollocks I was saying, how would I know that? How would I know that? Yeah, as I've said, this is all the old part of the prison. None of these officers want to be filmed or ought to be said. And just for record, officers, I'm not saying that you are bad officers. I'm saying there is a lot in there who I can name. And because you haven't got no grief, when I go and edit this at home, I'm going to blur your faces out. Is that all right? Yeah? It don't change what I've said though, does it? Hey. Say hello to Mr. Matthews for me, will you? And Mr. Green, he's wing governor now. He used to be Old Kitchen SO. In Brex, he used to sit there with Chief sat on. We all told him he'd never make chief. He didn't think kitchens. So he moved out and went wing governor up on wings. Well done, Mr. Green. I think he'll be retired by now though. Bye. Don't smuggle no drugs in. And listen, I'm not bothered about coming back in here, because when you watch it on YouTube, my name's on it. I don't give a fuck, because there's nothing any of you can say to me. Nothing. Last time officers tried, we smashed the nicks up. i.e. Strangeways, Preston, Wymott. You know all about them, don't you? That's why you got all these changes. Oh, one other fact. Armley, did you know, officer, that Armley is the only prison in the country that has never had a riot? All it has had was a sit down and refused to go back in, and that was on A and B wing exercise yard. It was after that Armley refused to accept any more prisoners over 900, and at that time there was 1700 in. Did you know that, officer? Listen, love. Alright, you don't listen. I can record you, love. Yeah, I can. I'm in a public place. I'm in a public place. I am recording you. And I'm going to name officers. Not yours. The ones that are having sex with inmates. I'm not saying you do. I'm not saying that. I do know screws in here. I go back farther than A-team. I'll ask you one question, love, and then I'm away. Where was old bathhouse? I know. I'm going to put it on. It's where inmates went to have the weekly bath before they put showers and everything in, and toilets in cells. No, I am recording you, love. I spoke to her officer's mother yesterday on here. She actually told me that her son's a screw in there, and he's on about fucking drugs that get smugged in as well. No, you don't care, love. That's why I'm here. That's why we had riots. This prison, as I was saying, refused to accept any further prisoners in over 900. So when you went to court, you got sent to police stations and remanded in police stations. They then took all the third beds out of the cells. This was first prison to do it. Now here, by pure luck, Gatehouse is opening. So I'll get you a view in here. This is the new Gatehouse. I don't know this Gatehouse, I never went through it. And here at vans waiting to go in with more inmates. Nice to see you boys. Have you got out to say about drugs getting smuggled in, mate? What about you officers over there? Last chance, mate. Have you got out to say? This over here, I think, don't quote me on it because I'm not 100% about this, but I think this here is the officers' mess. Is it correct? Is that correct? Officers' mess? This is where inmates cook dinners and other things for screws. These two screws are whizzing off right back out of my way, look. Excuse me, officers. No bottle to say out. I bet you've got plenty in there to boys, haven't you? Fucking knobheads. Muppets. Excuse me, love. If I said to you I could name women prison officers in this prison having sex with inmates, what would you have to say to that? One has actually moved from here up to Everthorpe. So it's not hard, is it, to work out which officer I'm talking about. This is New Gatehouse, mate. I'm not allowed in here. That's for officers. Look, they're all going in now on duty. Ready to unlock at 1:30 and pack them all off to mailbag shops and whatever else they've got now. Delivery man. I won't film you, mate. I'm not filming you. Just the prison, mate. You know what to do with it. You're just a delivery man. I only film screws. Say hello to Mr. Green for me, won't you? Wing Governor. Used to be kitchen SO. He always sat there with Chief sat on. He sat there with Chief sat on, mate. We all told him then he'd never make Chief. So he left kitchen and went to work on wings as a wing governor. Beat that. He's been a crank all along.